This lesson is a really interesting one because it may be the type of lesson that once you learn it, you can't unhear it and you start wanting to correct other people's grammar. Uh, don't do it. People don't like that. All right, so a pronoun, just for a definition here, takes the place of a noun. So personal pronouns name people, and they can be either in the nominative or the objective or the possessive case. So what that means is that when they're in the nominative case, it means they're doing the action of the sentence. So they're replacing the subject in the sentence. If they're in the objective case, then they're receiving the action of the verb, which means they're replacing an object in the sentence. If they're in the possessive case, most people know what that means. It means that a person possesses it. So the examples are listed below. The tough part is we get pronouns mixed up. We don't know which ones to use. Even when we're trying to be polite and grammatically correct and say it in the correct way, we often will choose the wrong one. So the nominative case pronouns doing the verbing are I, he, she, they, we, and who. The objective case pronouns me, him, her, them, us, and whom. So I'm grouping who with the nominative case and whom with the objective case, so you'll see later on it becomes a special case for pronouns, even those aren't exactly replacing a person. So here are the types of things that often are said aloud. Her and I are going to buy a gift for the wedding. That's not correct. It's supposed to be she and I are going to buy a gift for the wedding. One of the things you can see there is that both of those should be in the same case, but one of them is actually in the objective case, her, and the other one's in the nominative case, I. They both have to be, it should be she and I because those are both in the nominative case. And the second one, both of them should be in the objective case. Those are for my mom, and I should be, those are for my mom and me. I know it doesn't sound right to most people, but it actually is correct to say and me because those are receiving the action of the verb. Next, us teachers get a kick out of teaching grammar. Well, that's supposed to be we teachers get a kick out of teaching grammar. If you take out the word teachers, it makes it pretty obvious that you just are supposed to say we get a kick out of teaching grammar, not us get a kick. So a lot of times, in order to figure out the right pronoun to choose, just take out that extra word. Now, when you use the word between, you're supposed to use him and me. You're supposed to use the objective case. A lot of times people say this is between him and I, and that's not correct. And then the last one is the hardest one because this one has a special case we'll get into next. But the person responsible is him. That one is supposed to be the person responsible is he. I would recommend that you keep saying him because nobody says the person is he. We just don't speak that way, but sometimes they're grammatically correct even though we don't say it that way. So in order to choose the correct pronoun, you need to choose the nominative pronouns when the pronoun's taking the place of the subject of the sentence. So if it's taking the place of a person's name and she's doing the action in the sentence, then you put she. But if it's taking the place of her name and she's receiving the action, then you put her. Choose the objective case when it's receiving the action. Choose the nominative case when it's doing the action. And if you can't decide, try to simplify by taking out extra words and just focusing on the verb. Now the last thing is these linking verbs. The to be verbs or linking verbs are listed there. If you see a to be verb and someone's being identified, they're pointing out who somebody is, like that's my boyfriend over there, or that's my friend, my husband, whatever it happens to be, then you actually have to choose the one, if you're trying to be correct, you choose the one that is supposed to be in the case that is the nominative case. So you'd say that is she, that is he. Don't choose the one in the objective case, that's him or her, even though it sounds correct. Now this is when we're writing mostly. When we're actually speaking, people don't speak this way. You don't go up and pick up your date for the prom and announce that you're here by saying to the parents, "It is I, come to pick up your daughter." You don't say that because they'll just slam the door on you. So instead, use the one that sounds normal for speech. But if you're doing something in writing, understand that actually, grammatically, You're supposed to, with linking verbs, be choosing the one in the nominative case. All right, another case that is a special problem is elliptical construction. And that occurs when we see a word as or than in a comparison sentence. And what we need to do in order to figure out which one to use here is to just finish the sentence. Like, what are you trying to say in the full way of saying it? So here's my example. When we go fishing, my dad always catches more fish than, and most people would say more fish than me. But actually, it's supposed to be than I. If you just think to yourself, when we go fishing, my dad always catches more fish than I do, then you'll see that you're actually supposed to be choosing I. So just finish up whatever the thought was, the complete sentence, and you'll be able to choose the right pronoun. Now, who and whom that's probably the case that gets most people tripped up, and these are pretty difficult for me too. But what you need to try to do is remember that who is in the nominative case. It's just like he, and whom is in the objective case. It's just like him. All right, so what we try to do is figure out for the part of the sentence we're looking at, which may just be a dependent clause, how is it being used? Is it being used to do the action, nominative, or is it being used to receive the action, objective? So if we can figure out that it's doing the action of the sentence, then we're going to use he, she, and who in that case. If it's receiving the action, we're going to use him, her, and whom. So we'd also use whomever if it's in the objective case, or whoever in the nominative case. Don't forget that once in a while we're going to have a linking verb identifying who somebody is, and if that's the case, we're supposed to be using who for the linking verbs. If it's receiving the action, we'd be using whom.